Hello everyone. Today we're going to be talking about Ella May Begay. I believe that's how you pronounce her last name. It's kind of weird, and also very sad. But all the links that I use for research will be down below. And let's go ahead and jump into this so it's not super long. I don't think it's going to be longer than any of my other videos, but I do just want to get into her case. So the Sweetwater community, they knew her as an accomplished pictorial rug weaver, which is a type of art form in Navajo culture. Well, there's another word for it. It's D-I-N-E with like an accent over it. I'm not sure how to pronounce it, so I'm not even going to try to butcher that. During editing, I'll have that name on the screen with also a picture of a rug that she's done. In addition to being a caregiver, she was also a loving elder and a matriarch of her community. So she was very well loved, and just in the photos alone, she looks like the sweetest lady ever. So her niece, Seraphine, or I think Seraphine Warren, she actually walked more than 150 miles from her aunt's home in Sweetwater to the Navajo Nation capital of Window Rock, Arizona, to bring awareness to her aunt, but also to other missing and murdered Indigenous people. So, missing and murdered Indigenous women / people, it's a crisis. Just in Utah alone, an Indigenous woman is 4 times more likely to be a victim of a homicide than a white person, and Indigenous people are also overrepresented in active cases of missing reports in Utah, with 14% being Native women and 16% are Native males. I talk a lot about missing and murdered Indigenous women / people in a lot of my cases, especially in, for example, Echo Little Wolf, Daisy Heath, Kieran Johnley. I did a mini case about them. Amber Tuckero, Alberta Williams. I believe I even spoke about it in Caitlin Potts' video, which I did recently. So if you want to know more, definitely check out those videos. And I actually talk more about the movement there. It's a very inspiring movement to bring justice to Native peoples, and it's very important that we talk about, because it's absolutely disgusting and despicable that they're not represented correctly. It's disgusting and despicable that they're blatantly ignored. It's so obvious with a lot of these cases that it's super suspicious, and they just don't get the investigations that they should have, and it's so blatantly obvious that there's racism involved. So it's definitely something that everyone should know about. Definitely do your own research about it. You can probably learn for yourself better than I could even explain it to you, but it's very important, and I think it's something that everyone should know, so I cannot oversell it. So definitely look into that. But let's get back into Ella herself. So on June 15th, 2021, so a fairly recent case, she was reported missing from her residence in Sweetwater, Arizona by family. Early that morning, a Ford F-150 was seen leaving her residence. It's believed that the truck may have been driven towards I'm sorry if I pronounced this wrong, Thoreau, New Mexico, and may have proceeded to Albuquerque. So, according to the Navajo Nation Police Chief Philip Francisco, her case is now in the hands of the FBI and the Navajo Nation's Criminal Investigations Team. Philip confirmed that her case was changed from missing to foul play. Philip added that the Navajo Nation Police Department has done its best to help with the case, noting it's responded to calls early on, started gathering information, including tapping into local cell towers to find any patterns of movement, and also relied on a national network of law enforcement agencies to help with the search. So the following is actually a direct quote from Philip. He says, "I don't know how to change the narrative that law enforcement is failing. Why did she go missing? This is not a random crime. We know who these people are. They're related or connected to the family." And he also says that there's a very high number of domestic violence and alcohol abuse with missing persons associated with crimes across the Navajo Nation. So he's basically saying that it's very likely that what happened to her would have been someone that she knew. Um, and going on to the niece, who has a quote. She says, all the authorities tell me is that we're still investigating. We're fighting, we're trying to do everything we can to solve this case. But she also says that no answers are basically fueled by limited resources and a lack of communication between local and federal agencies. We see it all the time in other cases that agencies just don't communicate well, and there's just a lot of information lost there. And I highly doubt that it's any different with Ella's case. I'm sure there's even, if it's even possible, less communication because she is a Native woman, and they probably care less if we're being honest, which is absolutely disgusting. And I 100% agree with Seraphine. It's limited resources and just the lack of communication, and also I think the lack of care, if I'm being completely honest, because these are all things that we could fix, but just choose not to. She goes on to say, I'm really bothered with just how the process is and how slow it's going. I don't still see that sense of urgency. I still feel like I'm running around frantically trying to look for my aunt. End quote. So, since Ella went missing, Seraphine has been a key advocate for families with similar situations. She's walked dozens of trips to demand change. She's absolutely amazing. She's an absolute inspiration. And I'm actually going to talk about more of what she does. So, in February 2021, she made a trek to the Navajo Nation capital and met with President Jonathan Nez. Um, she wants uh, to go even farther, like even Washington, D.C., and she will make that walk on foot. When I'm filming this video, she may have done it already. I'm not quite sure, but that is absolutely amazing. And with her walk, she plans to pique the interest of federal legislators and persuade leaders to put more pressure on the law enforcement agencies handling cases of missing and murdered people. She also hopes to be a voice for grieving families. Like everything she's doing is just so amazing. She cares so much. You can tell, and it's just, I hope that change comes from this. Um, as of 2022, a $5,000 reward is being offered by the FBI. They are asking those who know where Ella Mae Begay is, or about the details and circumstances surrounding her disappearance that could help lead to identifying, arresting, or convicting whoever is responsible, to contact the FBI Phoenix Field office at 623 466 1999. And whatever attention the case has received is not because of in law enforcement, but because of the family's attorney, Darlene Gomez, who has been representing them pro bono. So Gomez and Gerald, who is actually Ella's son, and her next of kin, they weren't notified in advance about the FBI's reward. And 5K, 5,000 is a lot. Um, at least that's what Darlene Gomez believes. Um, but she believes that more would be more enticing for someone to come forward. She also thinks billboards can make a statement, which I also agree with. Like 5,000 could be a huge, huge change for someone that really needs it. But for someone who did this and they don't really need the money, who's to say, or they know someone who did, who's to say that they would even want the 5,000? Maybe if it was more, And I think they should definitely think about offering more money. I definitely think Ella is worth that. And I also agree with the billboards. If you're just this case, I found plenty of articles about it, but who's to say that's being in the news regularly? At Billboard, you would see that all the time, so I definitely think that could help. Um, and she actually goes on to say places where there's high poverty, a $5,000 reward or a $10,000 reward could be something that a person makes in a whole year. The amount the FBI gives out for bank robberies can be almost 25,000 to 100,000. Some people who are people of color, especially Native American, their reward for information on their cases are at times a lot lower than people who are not of color, which is end quote, which is so true. It's actually kind of gross. Um, just even in the reward, just it seems like they don't care enough to even offer it much more. It's incredibly disappointing to say the least. Um, but I also want to go back to Gerald quickly. Just a little bit about him. So he is Ella's son, and it's so sad when I read this, but he still actually texts her on her birthday, um, and tries to live a normal as that can possibly be. He says that they had a close bond and that it's hard to not be consumed with grief and other emotions when he thinks about what might have happened to her, and I can only imagine how he feels. I've lost a parent, but definitely not in this way, so I understand the grief of losing a parent, and I can only imagine that it's amplified by not knowing what happened to them. Did they go willingly? Did they not? Are they harmed? Are they dead? Are they still alive somewhere? All of these things running through your head and not knowing, and it feels like nothing's being done about it. I can't imagine the pain. And I am so sorry to Gerald and Seraphine and all of their family. I am so, so sorry. You guys deserve so much better. Ella deserves so much better. And I hope with time more information will be pushed out about her, and hopefully we can bring her home, whether that is alive or to put her to rest, because she is important and she is worth it 100%. That's the information I have for you guys. There's a lot more information on Seraphine's walk and, like I said, missing and murdered Indigenous women slash people. Definitely look into both of those things. I will have links down below, resources for you guys to look into. It's very interesting, inspiring, and needs to be talked about even more. So I hope you guys definitely look into that. Um, I can't say like as for like searching and stuff what the police have done because there's literally nothing. I could find nothing that the police have done, and I've said this in videos before. It could just be that they're not speaking on it. I know a lot of police departments, they don't want to compromise the case, and to give them the benefit of the doubt, maybe it's that. And like I said, it could also be just the lack of care, the lack of urgency, and they could be absolutely doing nothing at all. So I can't tell you guys what's been going on other than Seraphine's walk and everyone else who is walking for Ella and other missing and murdered people. And it really seems like the family are the ones putting out the effort, and it's sad to see because it shouldn't just be them. It shouldn't feel like it's just them. And I know I'm harping on this, but I cannot imagine this happening to someone you love, and then there is just no sense of urgency with police. It's absolutely disheartening and disgusting and despicable. And like I said, I am so, so, so sorry to the family, and I hope we can bring Ella home. That is all I have for you today. That's all I have for you guys today. I'm so sorry I'm messing up my words. But I'm gonna go. I will have a phone number on the screen for anybody who has any tips of where you can call. Um, Thank you so much for listening to Ella's story. And again, I am so sorry to her family that they have to go through this. I wish you guys nothing but healing and good health and to bring your loved one home. And I hope you never, ever have to go through something like this again. Um, and that's it. Thank you guys for listening to our story, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye, guys.